Good morning and welcome. Daf Yomi, Masechus Rosh Hashana. What's today's daf, Dad?
Oh, daf Yud Ches Amud Beis.
Nah. You know, it's funny. My brother-in-law, Yehuda, I happen to share the same name with my father. Whenever I do daf Yomi with him, he sits in as partner with me. He says, let's say today's daf happens to be daf 19, Yud Tet. He says, today is daf Yud Tet Amud Aleph. I say, Yehuda, we're learning daf Yomi is two daf. It's not like yeshiva where you learn one Amud in a year. This is, you learn. I always say today's Yud Tet Amud Aleph and Yud Tet Amud Beis. So my father actually is yesterday's daf. We're a little behind Yud Tet Amud Beis. I want to tell the audience. I met one of my father's friends yesterday. He grew up in Great Neck, Long Island. It's funny if you speak to most people from the yeshivish world, the Haredi world, and they ask me, where are you from? Long Island. They say, oh, Great Neck. You know, like that's where they assume Long Island. The only place they've ever heard of Long Island is Great Neck. Like these people from Bnei Brak, these people from Yerushalmi people. Actually, even some people from Brooklyn, they never heard of Long Island. They say, oh, Great Neck. Why is that, Dad? Great Neck? Great Neck's the center of Long Island. I think it's because they all come to Kings Point, which is one of the wealthy neighborhoods over there. So they give a lot of money to the Mostos. You know what a Mossad is? Mostos.
Mossad. That's the Israeli intelligence service.
Exactly. Right. Mossad also is like a building. That's the yeshivish word for collecting for the Mostos, for the yeshiva Tana, the yeshiva Dola. Anyway, I met our father's friend yesterday, and he asked me, you know, what do? You learn? He assumed I learned. I said, sort of, I learned, but also I give a Daf Yomi share on YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel. I make funny videos, and I give a Daf Yomi share. He's like, wouldn't that be something if you actually give a funny Daf Yomi share? I said, actually, I do give a funny Daf Yomi share. So I thought it was funny that there actually is a thirst out there. There's a thirst, right there. It's a thirst which can't be quenched. I don't know. I mean, it seems to me like these people are thirsty. All Jews. There's 14 million Jews in the world, and about 5,000 learning Daf. How many people are learning Daf Yomi? There's like how many people do you think learn Daf Yomi in the world?
Now more than probably ever during our.
I'm saying maybe 100,000. How many people in the world learn Daf Yomi?
Probably something in a few 100,000.
There's 14 million Jews in the world that are considered halakhically Jewish. I think about 20 million who identify as Jewish, and 22 or 23 million which would be Jewish by the Israeli definition of what's Jewish. You have one grandparent Jewish, or you're married to someone Jewish. So there's a lot of Jews out the world, and only, let's say, 100,000 people learning Daf Yomi. 14 million people, 13,900,000 people halakhically or Jewish want to learn Daf Yomi. They deep down want to learn Daf Yomi, and I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to make a funny Daf Yomi shir under half an hour. Yesterday was a little long, and this gives them a little entertainment, and they'll be able to jump right into Daf Yomi. Biggest Daf Yomi shir now has like 3,000 people. Not enough, right, Dad? We gotta go big. You know, imagine I get 14 million listeners a day. You know, on YouTube. That'll be good for it, you know. I'll make a lot of money. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it for the fame. Is that it? Which one is worse, Dad? For the fame or the money?
As long as it's lishma.
Exactly. All right, so we're gonna jump right in today. The bottom of Yud Amud Beis, 18b, about 7 or 8 lines from the bottom. The last word line is Mosiv. Mosiv Rav Acha Bar Huna B'tlasa B'Tishrei. B'Telis Ad Karasa Min Shtaraya. On the 3rd of Tishrei, this is one of the Megillas Tainus, again, was one of those documents that talked about the different days that happened to be Yom Tovim for Yisrael, great things to happen, great salvation to happen for the Jews. And during the time of the Beis HaMikdash, they celebrated as a Yom Tov, and when it wasn't the Beis HaMikdash, it wasn't celebrated. We're discussing whether it was celebrated or not celebrated. So the Gemara here is trying to present one angle of this argument. They stopped writing Hashem's name on the shtaros. Why did they write on the shtaros, on the legal documents? The Greek government made a gzeira against Klal Yisrael that they shouldn't write Hashem's name on their document. The Gzavra Malchus Chashmonoi, right, in the time of Chanukah, the Chashmonoim overtook the Greek V'nitzkum. Because they were very fond of their salvation, they took upon themselves as Jews to write Shem Hashem in their lending documents, the IOUs. For example, they would write in such and such year, Yochanan Kohen Gadol was the Kohen Gadol, the Kel Elyon, Hashem's name, Kel Elyon, the supreme God. When the Chacham heard they were writing the Shar, tomorrow he's going to pay his loan off. And the document, the loan document, he'll throw out and it has Hashem in it, right? Ubitlum, and they were Mavatel writing Hashem in the shtar. So Yom, this day, the third day of Tishrei, they made it into Yom Tov. This was one of the days written in Megillas Tainus. If you hold that when the Beis Hamikdash is no longer around, Megillas Tainus doesn't apply anymore, and you're allowed to fast and you're allowed to eulogize in those days. Kamaisa Batal Achronaisa Mosifin. Kamaisa were the ones, the happy days that happened in the days of Beis Hamikdash, and the earlier ones. This is a later, something happened during the second Beis Hamikdash. They're gonna, if they were Mavatel, the whole Megillas Tainus, so then we're gonna be Mosif afterwards, hundreds of years later, they're gonna add to it and celebrate as a Yom Tov. So the Gemara says, "How am I asking? As much Beis Hamikdash Kayim." The Gemara says it's true, but really, this was the time of the second Beis Hamikdash. It wasn't the time of Chorban. So the Megillas Tainus was Yom Tovim that happened during the first Beis Hamikdash, but this happened during the second Beis Hamikdash. So when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, then Megillas Tainus was abrogated. But once the Beis Hamikdash was rebuilt, so then if a Yom Tov happened during the second Beis Hamikdash, they celebrated as a Yom Tov. So the Gemara on the top of Yud Tem and Aleph, 19a. Why do they have to write in Megillas Tainus the third day of Tishrei? That's another special day. I don't know if you call it special. The day that Gedaliah ben Achikam, we learned about yesterday, was assassinated by a fellow Jew. So we learned that if the Beis Hamikdash is not built, it's the day of Tzom. But if the Beis Hamikdash is built, B'Shas Shalom, it's considered Yom Tov. So it would consider Yom Tov, right? You understand this logic then? That the day that Gedaliah ben Achikam was assassinated, how can you celebrate it as Yom Tov? The Beis Hamikdash are built. Have any ideas?
No.
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, it makes sense to me if something was a happy day originally. So the time of the Beis Hamikdash is around, so you celebrate as a happy day. The Beis Hamikdash is destroyed, so it's a chorban. But this is a day that was a sad day. Gedaliah ben Achikam died. It was a sad day. Well, it helped the Beis Hamikdash was around. All right, we'll leave it as a question. Caleb is gonna fill us in with an answer. Caleb, right? Caleb. Okay. So the Gemara says, Amarav lo nitzracha ella la'asar eshalafanav. The reason that this day was included in the Gimel Tishrei, where they stopped writing Hashem's name in the shtaros, that was to Asar Beis Tishrei, the day before, because anything that was written in Megillas Tainus, not only that day was Asar, was forbidden in eulogizing and fasting, also the day before it and the day after it. So the Gemara says, why do you need to tell me that Beis Tishrei is one of these Yom Tovim? It should be the day after Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh was a happy day. So if we say Lafanav and La'acharav, so La'acharav after Rosh Chodesh, Rosh Hashana was Aleph Tishrei, so Beis Tishrei is the day after it. The Gemara says Rosh Chodesh da Raisa. Rosh Chodesh is from the Torah that you should be happy. The Raisa lo boy chizuk. That the Rabbanan didn't have to strengthen, they didn't have to make the day before and day after. So therefore, you needed Beis Tishrei. The Sanya Yom Ma'ila Aksuvim Megillas Tainus Asurim Bein Lifnei Bein Lachareim. These days Megillas Tainus are Asur both before them, both after them. Shabbos Yom Tovim Heim Asurim Lifnei Lachareim Mutarim. But Shabbos and Yom Tov, which are happy days from the Torah, so those days are Asur to fast and to eulogize on them. But before them and after them, it's mutter. Ma hefresh ben zelzeh. What's the difference between the two? Halal divrei Torah, ve'ein divrei Torah. These Rosh Chodesh, Shabbos, and Yom Tov are days from the Torah that we know are supposed to be happy. So the Rabbanan didn't have to strengthen them because there'd be no weakness on the day itself. Halalu divrei Sofrim. But these days of Megillah's Tainus were only instituted by the Rabbanim, and divrei Sofrim tzrich chizuk. Because if we didn't strengthen them the day before and the day after, even that day itself, people would be weak and would end up fasting and eulogizing on that day. Still, the Gemara persists. We have another question. Why do you have to Gimel Tishrei? It was also a day that Gedal ben Achikam perished. So the day before that should also be based Tishrei on account of Gedal ben Achikam, not on account of this thing with the shtaros. Amar Vashi, Gedal ben Achikam divrei Kabbalahu, divrei Kabbalah, divrei Torah damu. Gedal ben Achikam was alluded to in the Ksuvim. We learned the pasuk a couple days ago. Som ha-Revi, V'som ha-Chamishi, V'som ha-Shvi, V'som ha-Asiri. So the reference in the Nach to Gedal ben Achikam. So that's like Divrei Torah. It has the equivalent of Divrei Torah, and that doesn't need Chizuk. So therefore, Beis Tishrei is only also because of the Shtaros. Divrei Kabbalah, Divrei Torah dam. They like Divrei Torah. Mesa Rav Tuvi Barmasna Be'esrim Manaya Be'asas Pesurta Taftali Yudai. The 28th day, it's talking about Adar, the 28th day of Adar, it was a Yom Tov for the Jews. The Lo Yidun Me'orais. It shouldn't be removed from the Torah. Shagazra Malchus Gzera Shlayasku B'Torah. This is talking about the Roman government. They made a Gzera that Jews shouldn't learn Torah. V'shlayimulu es b'neim. They shouldn't give a bris milah. V'shechalu Shabbosos. And shouldn't keep Shabbos. Masa Yehuda ben Shamuel v'chaver. What did Yehuda ben Shamuel and his friends do? They took advice from a noble woman that all the great people in Rome were Mesuin Etzla. I don't know what this matronisa is. I don't know if it means a prostitute or it means someone who is a wise woman. Sounds to me, some places in the Gemara it sounds like a prostitute, and some places it sounds like a prostitute. Other places.
Our scroll doesn't have a footnote on it.
It says noble woman. Our scroll is clean. They don't write things, illicit relations, everything, Can't say anything explicitly. Right, Dad? It's important to be explicit. It's important. I was learning with these older men. I shouldn't say older men. You're close to their age, but
Thanks.
I mean, they're not that old. They're in their 60s, 60s. How old are you, Dad?
Not for public consumption.
Come on, Dad. Tell me how old you are.
Not for public consumption.
I'm 39 years old, believe it or not. I think most people think I'm around 30. Anyway, I was learning with all the older men. He said, we're learning about a pasuk that the woman grabs the mabusha. She grabs the genitals, the private parts of a man, when the wife of one of the men, when two men are fighting. It's talking about boshes. We're learning about embarrassing someone, how much you have to pay money for it. So I said mabusha. So someone else was reading. One of the older men was reading the Gemara, and he stopped. He said mabusha. He knew what it meant, but he wouldn't say it. Like he was like, I'm like, yeah, genitals are private parts. Just trying to fill them in, and he called it privates. Like okay, privates. People get uncomfortable when you talk about these things. You have to be comfortable with these things, Dad, right? All right, listen. Okay. What would Shmuel say, Dad?
You'll have to ask Shmuel.
Shmuel would do what you do. He wouldn't comment. All right. He said, go and protest Hafgana, right? Hafgana, they go make Hafgana at night. They made a protest tonight. Amru Ishamayim. They said, they called out, oh God, Lo achicham anachnu. They said to the Romans, aren't we your brothers? We're all the children of the same father and the same mother, right? The Romans came from Esav, right? Yitzchak, Yaakov and Esav were brothers, the children of Rivka and Yitzchak. They said, why are you only against us, the Jews, that you're making these harsh gezeros? There's other nations under your rule, and we're your brothers and sisters, and you're making this Gzeirah and the Bittum, and because of that, the Romans nullified this Gzeirah. Also, Yom Aso Yom Tov. That day, they made it into Yom Tov. If you tell me that Megillas Tainis was abrogated, Kamaisa Batal Achronaisa Mos, even if they were already Mavatel the first days of Megillas Tainis in the base of Midrash Rishon, this happened later. We'll see how much later it happened. They're going to add on much later. Maybe it was talking about during the period of the second base of Midrash, like you said before. So therefore, even though it was abrogated, but when the base of Midrash were built, it was reinstituted. But how Yehuda ben Shamu, Talmido Shara Meir, Yehuda ben Shamu, who said this, he was the Talmud of Meir. Meir Basar Haki Havar. Meir was after, way after the second base of Midrash was destroyed. Let's say you have a glass kli that got a hole in it. So when the kli gets a hole in it, it loses its status as tumah. Even though it's tameh, it's no longer a kli, so therefore it loses its status as tumah. You wanted to fix it up, so you melted some hot lead into there to plug up the hole. So now it's a question whether it's considered a kli machlis, a metal kli, and a return to its old tumah or not. He holds it, reverts back to its old tumah. Mishum Meir, he calls the name of Meir. Meir was his Rebbe, you see from this. The Chachamim say no, it doesn't return. It's still considered a glass kli. It's a broken glass kli. It's not considered a metal kli because just to plug it up. But anyway, you see from here that Rav Meir was a Rebbe Yehuda ben Shamua. And Rav Meir was the Talmud of Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva lived after the base of the way after the base of the was destroyed. So the Gemara says Tanahi. It's really the Machlokas Tanoim, whether Megillas Tainis was abrogated or not. The Tanya Hayamim Ha'ilu Aktuvim Megillas Tainis Beim Bizman Beis Hamikdash Kayim, Beim Bizman Ein Beis Hamikdash Kayim. Whether it was a time when the Beis Hamikdash was around or even when it wasn't around. Asurim Divrei Meir. A Meir says they're asur no matter what. This is a sheet of Rav Meir, like we saw before. Yehuda ben Shamua. They were making Megillas Tainis was never really abrogated. Therefore, even the base of is not around, you still have to celebrate these days as Yom Tovim. You can't fast and you can't eulogize on them, and even the day before, even the day after. Yossi Omer is Mash Beis Hamikdash Kaim Asur. Yossi is one who argues on our Meir. He says when the base of is around, so they're Asur, they're celebrated as a Yom Tov. Simcha Hilahem. It's a Simcha. Ein Beis Hamikdash Kaim Mutar, and the base of is not around, they're Mutar. Mipnei She'evel Hulahem, because it becomes a day of sorrow. The Hilchasa Batal, the Hilchasa Lo Batal. The Gemara quotes halacha. The halacha says it was never Mavatal Megillas Tainis. Another halacha says they were Mavatal Megillas Tainis. The Gemara says Kasha Hilchasa. So you see, it's a question how one Hilchasa, one Psak halacha says they're Mavotal, and one says they were Mavotal. Lo Kasha. Kam Mechaniko Purim, Kam Mishar Yomi. Two of these days that were written in Megillas Tainis happened to be Chanukah and Purim. Everyone knows the stories of Chanukah and Purim. So those days, those were never abrogated. Those days apply forever and ever to be celebrated as Yom Tovim. The other things in Megillas Tainis are not Yom Tovim, and you're allowed to fast, and you're allowed to eulogize on them. Dad, you like Hanukkah or Purim more?
They're both happy holidays. Hanukkah lasts 8 days. Purim only lasts a day. So
this is wisdom of Dad segment.
Yeah, so you know, how do you weigh happiness? You have happiness for 8 days, spread out over a period of 8 days, or you have the intense happiness of Purim, where liquor is either approved or not approved, depending on what your inclination is. But
just for the record, my father gets stone. What's it? Stone drunk. What's the phrase?
Me, I'm the last.
Stoned.
Person.
He gets stoned. No, I don't know. He drinks so much liquor. I'm telling you, he holds liquor really well. So he drinks. First, he drinks a bottle of wine. Then he drinks a bottle of scotch. He likes Glenlivet. After the Glenlivet, then he'll go over to Jim Beam, Kentucky bourbon. He likes that one, Jim Beam. Right, that's your favorite.
With Kentucky Fried Chicken. Is that why you said Kentucky?
Kentucky
I need to drink liquor nor eat Kentucky Fried Chicken. Sorry to disappoint you.
He likes Jim Beam. No. You eat Kentucky Fried Chicken. Listen, on Purim, everything's kosher, right?
No, but Purim and Hanukkah are happy holidays, and they celebrate.
Well, Adam Sandler had a song. You know Adam Sandler's song about Hanukkah?
Something about 8 days.
He said he compares it with Christmas, right? He says that Hanukkah is more joyous than Christmas because you have 8 days to celebrate. You've been someone, my father has worked as a lawyer. He's someone who's worked with a number of non-Jews over the years. A lot of experience dealing with people that are not Jewish. You think they're jealous of Hanukkah, the non-Jews? You think Adam Sandler was right?
You'll have to ask Adam Sandler.
He's Jewish, you know?
What's his Hebrew name?
Adam. Adam Sandler. He makes shoes also.
So did
he makes sandals.
Yeah. So did Chaim Topol in what was the movie? Sella.
Fiddler on the Roof.
He said he was a Sandler when he went on Aliyah.
Sandler, yeah, he makes sandals, yeah. Okay. Gemara says, Al Elu Mimnei Rosh Hashanah Al Tishrim Nidakanas Hamuados. We mentioned in the Mishnah, they sent out shluchim to tell people when Rosh Chodesh, what day it was. And El, they send it out so you'll know next month what day Rosh Hashanah was. And Tishrei, so that you should know what day Sukkot is. So the Gemara says, then after the Elul, Tishrei Lamulu, one day went out on Elul. Everyone knows when Rosh Chodesh Elul was, so why do you have to go out in Tishrei? So the Gemara asked the obvious question, because it's very possible that Elul, we don't know whether it's a full month of 30 days or 29 days. Maybe they made it a full month. We never found Elul. Remember, a long history, Ezra said. Elul never was Ma'uber for some reason, never Ma'uber, so why are people worried? Everyone should know it's a month of Chaser, 29 days, and they'll know what day. You don't have to send on Tishrei, you'll know what day Sukkot is. So the Gemara said, Lo masinu lo itzurich. All it means to say is, we never found, you never needed to, but it's technically possible, we could actually make it Iber, so therefore people were not 100% sure, and therefore we had to send even on Tishrei. So the Gemara says, Ha-mekalkel Rosh Hashanah. If you're sending on Tishrei, so they're not going to get Rosh Hashanah, whatever day their Koveya is Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, right? No one's going to find out about Rosh Hashanah. We're not going to know what day Rosh Hashanah is. If really it's possible to Ma'aber Elul to make it 30 days, that means Rosh Hashanah will be the next day. People get Rosh Hashanah wrong. So the Mutav to Kalkul Rosh Hashanah is Kalkul Kulu Muados. It's better that we should leave the possibility that El could be Mu'uber, and even though Rosh Hashanah will celebrate on the wrong days, at least the Mu'ados, at least Sukkot will celebrate, which is 7 or 8 days, Shmini Atzeres, also shouldn't be messed up. Daikanami, we see a proof for this. Tiktani al Tishrei mipnei takanas hamoados. We said in the Mishnah on Tishrei they sent out shluchim because of fixing the moados. Moados is plural, which refers to Sukkot and Shmini Atzeres. Shmamina, so you see, it's not because of Rosh Hashanah, it's because of Sukkot and Shmini Atzeres, which are much more days. 8 days is more than 1 or 2 days. Al Kislev nei Chanukah, al other nei Purim. Send out shluchim and Kislev, so they know what day is Chanukah. On other, they know what day is Purim. V'avilin is Habra Hashana Yotzin Afal Adar Sheni. Mipnei Purim Lo Kasani. It doesn't say in our Mishnah. Let's say they decided to make Adar a leap year. Now we don't make it into a leap year. We have the calendar set up many years ago by Hillel, but it was possible to make Adar Ma'ubar. So they said during Adar Rishon they would say, let's add an extra Adar. So why do you have to send an extra on Adar Sheni? So that people should know what day Purim, because Purim really is only an Adar Sheni. So the Gemara says, Lema Lokatani Masis Lokar Karebi. Our mission is not like Rebbe. The Tanya Rebbe Omer Misabra Hashana Yotzin Afal Adar Sheni. Rebbe actually does say this. He says if they add an extra Adar, then they would go. They send shluchim also for Adar Sheni. They have Purim. So the Gemara says, Lema B'Hakom. Let's say our Tana and our Mishnah and Rebbe are arguing about the following machlokas. The Mar Sarah Kol Mitzvos Hanogos B'Sheni Nogos B'Rishon. One opinion holds that all the mitzvos that apply on the second Adar apply in the first Adar. I mean, our Tana holds that just like Purim really is supposed to be celebrating the second Adar, but if you celebrate it with the Evan in the first Adar, you're Yotzei, so therefore you don't have to celebrate, even though you add an extra Adar, and you did Purim during the first Adar, it's not a problem because you're Yotzei with the Evan. Omar Savar Kol Mitzvos Hanogos B'Sheni Ein Nogos B'Rishon. Rebbe holds that all the mitzvos that apply in the second month of Adar don't apply. You can't be Yotzei even with the Evan in the first Adar. Which is low. It's not the machlokas. The chuli alma mitzvah nogos b'sheni and nogos b'rishon. Really, everyone you have to celebrate Purim in the second Adar. The machlokas is about making it into an uber year and making it into an extra year, extra month. The Tanya kama ibur shana. When you make the extra month, how many days is that month? Shloshim yom. Rashim lomer chodesh. He says that the other rishon which you decide you're going to make another sheni. How much is the other rishon? So one opinion says it's always 30 days. Shibban Galil says a month chodesh. Ma'ishna alamid yom So the Gemara assumes Chodesh here means 29 days. Maishna Lamed the Yadi. So if you hold, the reason, so our Tana said that you don't send out for other Sheni because he held like this first Shita. It's always 30 days. So it's always 30 days. They know when it's going to be, other Sheni, when Purim is going to be, and other Sheni. So the Gemara is Maishna Shloshim the Yadi Chodesh Nami Yadi. According to Shimon Gamliel, you want to say Shimon Gamliel holds like Rebbe that we don't know, and therefore we have to send out another Sheni also. Chodesh also, the Gemara assumes it's 29 days. They're also Nami Yadi. They're also going to know exactly when Purim is in the second Adar. Amar Papa, Mandamar Chodesh, Ratza Shloshim. According to Shimon Gamliel, Chodesh doesn't mean 29 days. It means a month, which could either be 29 days or 30. Hey, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Mishum Kal Kedish Shalayim, Al Shnei Adorim Shemakajnosam Biyom Ibureyan. He gave testimony in front of the congregation in Shalayim. The two Adars, you can Makadesh them Biyom Ibureyan. Even in their Ibur, the 30th day, you can Makadesh it. So the Gemara says, "Lememar the Chaserin Avdina Malay Lo Avdina," meaning that we make both others 29 days and not 30. Lafuke midadarash Rav Nachum Rachista, to exclude you, to show you not like Rav Nachum Rachista. Hey Rabbi Simai Mishum Chagai Zachariah Malachim. And we just said before that he says that could either be 29 days or 30. He says only 29 days. Hey Rabbi Simai Mishum Chagai Zachariah Malachi Al Shnei Adarim. He gave testimony. If they want to make the two others Mali, they can make them. Shneim Chaser and Osin. They might make both months 29 days. They can do that. Echad Mali, Echad Chaser Osin. One month 30, the first month 30, the second month 29. They can do that. That's what they would do in the diaspora outside of Eretz Israel. Mishum Rabbeinu Amud Olam Echad Mali Echad Chaser. Rabbeinu, either Rabbi or Rav, they said, for whatever it always has to be, this is the halacha, it always has to be one other is Mali, is 30 days, and the second is Chaser. Until you know, until you have testimony otherwise that it happened differently. They sent to Marukva. The other that comes before Nisan, meaning other Sheni, it has to always be Chaser, and this is how we practice. The first other is 30 days, the second is 29, so we don't have any problems anymore. Okay, that was today's shir. How long does your Daf Yomi shir normally take? Then my father goes to a different Daf Yomi shir.
Depends. It's shorter on Mondays and Thursdays. We always start at the same time, 5:50 in the morning. And on Monday, Thursdays, we end at davenings at 6:35, so we ended around 6:31, 6:32, something like that.
Yeah, someone has a stopwatch over there.
And on the other days of the week, it's a full
hour.
Basically, no, 45 minutes.
And you're able to do a whole daf in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but usually, this is very evenly paced, which is good. I like that. The shir that I'm in, usually we accomplish maybe a quarter of the daf in most of the shir, and then we go very, very fast, even faster than you're going.
Faster than I'm going.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's possible.
To catch up.
Is it possible to go faster than I'm going?
Right. So yours is more evenly paced, and that's...
you have digressions, right? That's what you get off topic. So, like, what topics do you discuss when you go off topic? Like, you discuss politics, you discuss sports, you discuss automobiles.
No,
what do you discuss?
No. Well, we get involved in discussion on one issue and then back and forth with that same issue.
So it's like a halachic issue? Like, what issue do you get involved with?
Well, trying to understand that bit of the Gemara.
Mm-hmm. And do you talk about like how whether you feel like Naftali Bennett is gonna mesh with Joe Biden?
No politics.
You don't talk about politics.
No politics.
You talk about the Knicks.
No Knicks.
You talk about any cars.
No cars.
You talk about vacation spots to go to.
No.
Okay, so you don't talk about anything good over there. You talk about all the stuff that is not interesting, right?
Right.
So why do you go this year, Dad? What do you count on going this year? There's camaraderie, there's a lot of nice people. Yeah, there's some friends who don't go there, so you know,
It's a very nice experience.
it's a nice experience. So you think you're gonna make it through the whole cycle, Dad? Mirza Hashem.
Hopefully Hashem should give me the strength.
All right, we'll see you at MetLife Stadium 2027.
Be there or be square.
That's right. Bye.